What is up? What is going on, everybody? I am back with the Mariners postgame recap. Before I get started, hit the sub button if you're new, and if you're enjoying the videos, really helps me out, so it doesn't take much. Just hit that subscribe button and hit that like button for me too. Thank you to everybody that does that. Really enjoying the interactions. Starting to get some more views on these. Again, not a lot compared to what some people get, but for me, it is more views. So thank you to everybody that's helping with that. Really means a lot to me. And keep the engagement going. I love it. Love the people that comment on my videos. You guys are really polite and kind too, which is awesome as well. It doesn't turn into a Twitter shouting match. The Mariners lose today 12-3 to the Rangers. Just an ugly, ugly series for the Mariners. They get swept in Texas. They get outscored 28-9 the last two games. Truthfully, it didn't feel like it was even that close, and that's saying something. The Mariners' run differential took a massive hit. They did get those 3 runs at the end to get it back to positive. And they're now back under 500. They've lost what now? 5 out of 6, something like that. Let's see, 5 out of 6 games, and that'll do it for you. Same old, same old. This is why I was so frustrated with the Friday game. Friday felt like the game in this series that the Mariners could win with Luis on the mound. You always feel with Luis on the mound, this team's got a shot to win the game. And it felt like they had some opportunities to do that. That's what made Friday so frustrating, because I had a hard time seeing them win yesterday. Major League debut against one of the best lineups in baseball for Brian Wu was going to be very difficult. And then Bryce Miller, I thought, might have a tough time against this lineup as well. So I really wanted them to get the Friday game, but, they couldn't do it. So end up getting swept. I'm not going to bash Bryce Miller. He's making his 7th Major League start. He's had a couple rough ones. It was going to happen. It sucks that it's happening in games you really feel like they need, but they need all of them. Like, every game is kind of a must-win in a way. Like, it's not like you've won 9 in a row and you're like, okay, the 10th one, whatever here. Mariners are trying to get this thing going, so every game feels really important, but I didn't get on Wu yesterday. It's his Major League debut, and Bryce Miller's, a kid finding his way in the rotation. He's going to have to make some adjustments, and I think he will. I think he'll be fine. He's just been hit hard the last couple times. Again, it happens. I know it's unfortunate. This team's been injury bitten in the rotation too. The Robbie Ray injury was significant, and it sort of seems like people just kind of gloss over it. I think maybe because Bryce Miller came up with so electric at the beginning, but we're seeing where this team does miss Robbie Ray and misses Marco. Marco probably gives them a better shot to win yesterday than Brian Wu did. So those are 2 significant injuries, and your depth in Chris Flexen has been awful. So the Mariners rotation, they've had to dig deep into their bags, essentially. They've had to go to, what were probably their 7th and 8th options on the season, or maybe even 8th and 9th if you want to throw Tommy Malone in there. And I actually think the depth's been pretty good. I see people getting on that. Like, the pitching depth has been solid. The fact that you have Bryce Miller and Brian Wu and these guys that can come up is a testament to that. Like, outside of that, there's not much you can do. You can't sign Nathan Eovaldi's and Jacob deGroms and stick him in AAA. Like, that's just not going to happen. So this is what happens to depth. You either have 4A guys like Tommy Malone who are capable, but also their stuff's just meh. And then you have kind of rawer prospects like Miller and Wu that might not quite be there yet to be a huge, middle rotation guys in a team's trying to compete. There's going to be learning bumps and curves and whatnot. So they're just going through that. The offense just, I mean, not getting it done. I get Eovaldi's been really good this year, no doubt about that. And so is John Gray. And they did okay against Haney yesterday. But just to every single, hitter in this lineup outside of JP, Kelenic, and Caballero, and Caballero, it's tough to tell because we don't really know what his trajectory is going to be. But outside of that, everybody's hitting below their career averages in terms of all the numbers, WRC plus and all that. Everybody's below what they normally would put out. It's just an underperforming group right now. It's why I haven't been too harsh on the front office and the coaching staff. Now, maybe, listen, I said it yesterday, it always falls back on these guys. The team's not performing well, and that always is going to be an indictment, indicative of coaching staffs and front offices. So it's not that they necessarily get a pass, like, oh, well, they should have been better, so too bad. But every projection system had this team as close to a playoff team, and Texas below them. And Texas has certainly taken off I think an underrated aspect of that was getting Bruce Bochy in there as well, and getting a competent manager for that team that's really helping out. But anyways, that's, we're here to talk about the Mariners. So yeah, it falls on them, but again, I'll go back to, and I'm bringing this up because it's kind of the Twitter discourse that goes around. You guys can tell me to shut up about talking about Twitter stuff, but and I get it. I get the spending money, but again, I go back to what the core of this lineup was going to be. Julio was always going to need to be a superstar. Like, that was part of the development that Seattle was getting there. Ronald Acuna Jr. And I'm not down on Julio. I'm not. You guys know that, but he's still hasn't been great. He's had a hot couple weeks and he's been better, but still overall it's been kind of just, he's been solid. He's actually been a decent player. But when you're needing Julio to be superstar, or hoping that was the development, it's not good enough. Like, if Julio Rodriguez, like the player he is right now this year, if that's all you get, that's still a really good player. He's got like a 745 OPS with elite defense. That plays. Like, there's nothing wrong with that baseball player. But you're going to have to make other adjustments throughout with who you sign and what you bring in if Julio isn't going to be a superstar. I think he is. I'm just saying, talking about what he is right now. And there really wasn't anything this team could have done that would have changed these guys not producing. Gino not having that power. Cal's been okay. He's a little bit below his average. Teoscar Hernandez. Last year, I think it was like a 138 WRC plus, like 90 this year. Had a nice game, had that triple today and a walk, so he was fine. Colton Wong, I mean, going from above average, again, Colton Wong's nothing special. He wasn't going to be an MVP candidate, but for someone that's been kind of an above average, solid, everyday player to being one of the worst players in baseball, none of it would have mattered. So, yeah, you can sit there and say, like Trey Turner's been bad, I'm not sure how Bogarts has been this year. But all these guys, the team would be better. I'm not saying that, had they signed Bogarts and moved JP to second, that this team would be better. But you'd still be having a lot of the same issues with this team. And this all assumes JP just moves to second. That's just something you can easily do, but I'm not going to get into that. You'd still have the same issues. Julio not performing. Teoscar Hernandez not performing. All these things would still be happening, so it might be a little better, but this team wasn't going to be a World Series contender. And I know I say this every video, unless you pulled the George Costanza, unless this was a way to get Bonds and Griffey, we don't have to give up that much. Unless you had that kind of plan, and if you do, please share it. I'd love to hear it. They were going to need the core to be really good and take that next step. And offensively, they just haven't. So I don't know. Now, that doesn't mean they shouldn't have signed somebody. I get where people are coming from on that. That doesn't mean that, all these guys stunk, so therefore, who cares what we did in the offseason? That's not what I'm saying. But none of it would matter if these guys just aren't going to take another step forward or even be at their career averages. They're going to need this core to get better. It's why I haven't talked much about trades and stuff for this team, because right now it doesn't matter. The best thing the Mariners can do to upgrade is Julio being Julio of last year. Kelenich's fine. Teoscar being Teoscar Hernandez. Gino doesn't have to be amazing, but some power. Every time it looks like Gino's about to get into that kind of power groove where he has a home run tear, it just doesn't happen. I said this team was going to be streaky. We knew this offense was going to be streaky. It's got a lot of streaky hitters in it. But we haven't had a lot of those just positive streaks. I thought Teoscar Hernandez would have series where he is just in fuego hitting home runs. Same with Gino. And they just haven't gotten it going yet. Even Cal to an extent. Now, he's been fine, but not quite as maybe dumperish as he was last year. I don't know. Even other guys like A.J. Pollock, who has mashed lefties in his career, hasn't given you anything. Tom Murphy's been better as of late, but he's still well below his career averages against lefties. So it's everybody. Like I said, outside of JP, Caballero, and Kelenic, and even Kelenic has really cooled off since April. He's still been solid. But outside of those guys, you're just not getting, that big time production that you really need for this team to take the next step. So that's why I haven't got much into the trade acquisitions. And then the pitching the last week has been really bad. The pitching gets a pass. I mean, it's a good staff. And you're relying on a lot of young guys right now, unfortunately. Just the nature of the game with the injuries. They now need Bryce Miller. Bryce Miller went from, minor leagues to, truthfully, now he's not even the first one in line to get replaced if something happens. That would probably be Brian Wu. So, now the pitching depth is kind of an issue. I actually wouldn't be surprised if they went out and got a starter. I know people are going to laugh at this and go, are you kidding me? Not Shane Bieber. Zach Plesac was just DFA'd by the Guardians. His ERA is bad. His FIP's a lot lower. I wouldn't be against it, taking a flyer. Right now you're kind of stuck because Flexen isn't an option. He's been so bad. Don't know how long Marco's going to be out. I thought actually Wu's stuff looked good yesterday, but it's still a lot to rely on Miller and Wu, who have made a combined 0 major league starts coming into this season, to be key cogs in this rotation. So I would absolutely take a flyer on Plesac and just see. It's not going to hurt you to bring him in. And also, you can't expect, they were already trying to limit George Kirby's innings this season. That's probably out the window now if you want to compete, unless this team just completely falls out of contention, and you can do that. But you now need George Kirby to be a 200-inning guy. Miller and Wu are probably on 130, 150 inning limits. So again, I don't think Plesac's the answer, but I'd bring him in and just see if you can get something out of him. I think it's worth a shot. I really do. I'm actually gonna have a video on that. Might have that up right after that. So I would absolutely take a flyer on Zach Plesac, especially if Marco's going to be out long term. Mariners should get some reinforcements in San Diego. Andres Munoz is coming back. That's not going to matter if you're down 12-0, though. There's only so much a reliever can do. And Dylan Moore looks like he's on track to be back as well. My guess for the roster moves are going to be, I kind of feel like Haggerty's going to get sent down. I know DFA and Colton Wong is the easy move. I've said it before, teams don't like to get rid of players unless they absolutely have to. And I think just that right-handed, left-handed, I think Dylan Moore, and Caballero's got speed. So I don't know if Haggerty's running ability is as valuable as it has been in the past or as needed. So I think Haggerty goes down. I think Flexen might get DFA'd. I just don't know what else you're going to do in the bullpen. Who do you send down? I guess you could send Festa down, would be an option too. And again, they might do that because, again, Flexen gives you a long option. And your rotation is thin right now too. So you might be keeping Flexen around just in case something happens. So it might actually be Matt Festa that goes back down, despite actually looking pretty decent since he's come back. But it's just a bit of a numbers game. So, I'm still somewhat, I'm not giving up yet. I'm not, because this offense should be better. Now, sometimes it does. Sometimes guys just underperform. I will say, people are saying, well, we're this deep into the season. I don't think we're as deep as people think. There's still 103 baseball games left. That's a lot. Now, the Mariners are in a hole. And the division might be done. Because not only do you have to catch Texas, you got to catch Houston as well. So the division might be done, which really stinks because I thought this team could compete for a division title. I did not think Texas was going to jump forward this quickly. Most of the projection systems didn't either. So before you go telling me oh, we knew this was coming. If you did, congrats. Cool. That's awesome. But not many, Fangraphs, all those systems, Zips, did not have Texas jumping forward this much. And those are run by a lot of very smart people. That's not everything. It's not everything. But they're run by a lot of very smart people that did not see this coming from the Rangers. So that stinks for the Mariners. I still think the wild card's a possibility, but you've got that AL East gauntlet just taking off and playing amazing as well. So it's going to be tough. But I think you've got a solid bullpen that's going to get better with Munoz coming back. I think the rotation is good. I'd be lying from that a little worried now at that back end with Wu and Miller. I think you can see where I've been positive on Marco. You kind of know what you're getting from Marco. Wu could have more upside. That's true. He probably does, but he could also be really bad. And Bryce Miller's been roughed up his last couple times. Obviously, Kirby, Gilbert, and Castillo, you know what you're getting. And I do think this offense is going to get better. It has to. There's going to have to be a series where Gino and Teo and all these guys just go off. They're too good. They're too good hitters. And I don't care what you think of this team. You can say, they're still not good enough. That's fine. But these guys are good enough to be better. Maybe that's not good enough for a playoff team. I don't know. It may not be. but these guys are better than this. Julio is better than this. Gino is better. Teo is better. AJ Pollock is better. Colton Wong is better. Somebody else I missed is better. I don't know. But like Tom Murphy, they are better than this. So, I sound like a whiny little kid here about it, but it's the truth. So hang in there. I wouldn't give up yet. I'm not going to use last year as necessarily like, hey, they were a lot worse last year. I don't think the AL was as deep last year. I think this year you've got Texas and Houston in the West. The Central's done, but you've got all 5 teams in the East in competition as well. So it's going to be a little tougher this season. But with that said, they're a game under. This is still a team that's, and I know it's going to be like, well, how are they going to do that? But, if they could, what if they win the next 5 on this road trip? You know what I mean? Then you're back to 34-30. And my point with saying that is like, that's 5-game winning streak is nothing insane. Plenty of teams do it. The 2004 Mariners, I'm watching, there's a channel that has all the highlights of, those teams and stuff. And at the moment, they're like 29-39. Now it gets a lot worse for them. And they just won a game. Like, that's their second 4-game winning streak of the year. So even that team, like as bad as they were, put together a couple 4-game winning streaks. And if the Mariners can do that, like they're right back there at 33-30, and we're feeling pretty decent about this team. They're probably 3.5 out of the wild card, and you're feeling okay. So it's not going to take that much. Now, yes, I get it. Right now, I can't not envision a 4-game winning streak out of this team with the way they just played. But that's baseball. Like, you say that, and then it happens. The 14-game winning streak kind of came out of nowhere. Remember how that winning streak started? It was Justin Upton hitting an 8th-inning home run off A.J. Puck and the A's to tie a baseball game. That was the first win in that winning streak. It was one of the most frustrating games of the year with, I think it was Caprillion just owning the Mariners and them doing absolutely nothing against him. So, and again, I'm not saying they need a 14-game winning streak. They don't. But my point is, like, you never know where that's going to start. You never know what's going to get it kick-started. And wash this one away. Let's hope they go to San Diego and bounce back. Thank you guys for watching. I hope this was somewhat therapeutic for you guys. Let me know in the comments what... I want to do a video tomorrow, just maybe like where I see this team, a breakdown. Let me know kind of if you have any ideas for what you want me to talk about with the Mariners, and I'll do it if I can. Let me know if you want me to get into a little bit more of the front office, the Dipoto Hollander stuff. Scott, I can do a video on Scott's service. Whatever you guys want to see, just let me know. Again, within reason. I don't have too much time to dive really, really deep, but I can. Let me know. Like I said, I'm probably gonna have a video up later today. I'm gonna talk a little bit about Plesac and how that might make some sense for the Mariners. I hope everybody enjoys the rest of their Sunday. Enjoy what's left of your weekend. Day off for the Mariners tomorrow, which actually, I don't like days. I like watching baseball. It's better than not watching baseball. So enjoy that. And as always, I hope you guys have a great day, and go Mariners. Peace.